We will work on more factoring examples. Remember from the previous video that the steps to factoring using the grouping method are to factor out any common factors. In fact, you should do that regardless of the factoring method you are using. Then multiply the first and last terms, what we call A and C. List the factors of A and C and use the factors that add to be the middle term. Rewrite the middle term, factor out a common factor in groups of two terms, first and last, regroup, and simplify. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense to you having watched the previous video. We're going to go through a number of examples in this video to help solidify that process for you. So, example 1, given 3x squared plus 10x plus 8 is equal to 0. Now we're focusing on the factoring here, but we actually want to make certain that we are also solving when we finish the factoring. Turns out the solving is the easy part. So step 1, look for a common factor. There is nothing that 3x squared, 10x, and 8 can all be divided by evenly, so there is no common factor. I move on to step 2. If I multiply A and C, 3 times 8 is 24. We need to list the factors of 24, and we're looking for a set of factors that add to 10. Well, we can eliminate some choices because this is positive 24 and we have a positive 10 here. I know that I can get away with listing only positive factors. So there's 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. And then if we go up, we get 6 and 4, and we start repeating them again. So the factors that add to the middle term of 10 are 4 and 6. We're going to rewrite this using 4x and 6x in the middle. So 3x squared plus 4x plus 6x plus 8 is equal to 0. Notice if I add the two terms in the middle, I get back the same amount I had earlier. So I've changed its form, but not its value. Then I'm going to look at these in two groups. The common factor for 3x squared and 4x is an x. I'm going to divide each term by x. 3x squared divided by x is 3x. 4x divided by x is 4. In the second half, 6x and 8, the common factor, or the thing I can divide out of both of those, is a 2. 6x divided by 2 is 3x. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Now I can regroup. If I have x, 3x plus 4s, and I have 2, 3x plus 4s, I can put them together and say that I have x plus 2, 3x plus 4s. Now that I've finished factoring, to solve it, I'm going to set each factor equal to 0. Here I would subtract 2 from both sides and have x equal to negative 2. Here I would subtract 4 from both sides, 3x equal to negative 4, divide, and x is negative 4/3, which you could change to negative 1 and 1/3. Here's a hint if you haven't kind of seen this pattern already. All quadratics should have two solutions. All right, moving forward, let's try a second example. Let's try 9x squared minus 25 is equal to 0. First thing to look for is a common factor. There's nothing that 9 and 25 can both be divided by. So I need to multiply these together so that I can find the factors that will add to the middle. 9 times 25 gives me negative 225. Now I don't know about you, I don't know all of the factors of negative 225. So one of the things I can do is go to my calculator, clear what's here. You type in the factor you're looking for, the product you're looking for divided by x. And let me set up my table correctly. And then you look through the table. And you're looking for whole numbers that when you add them together, make the middle term, and in this case I need you to notice that our middle term is 0 because the x is missing. So if I start writing down the factors of negative 225, I've got positive 1 and negative 225 from right here in the table. I've got 3 and negative 75. I've got 5 and negative 45. I've got 9 and negative 25. And again, notice I'm only using the whole numbers. And I've got positive 15, negative 15. And since they're both the same, if I continue going in the list, I'm going to find that those numbers start to repeat. The next one is going to be 25 and negative 9. Now I need to find the pair that adds up to my middle term, which we said was 0. Well, that would be positive 15 and negative 15. So if I rewrite this, I have 9x squared plus 15x minus 15x minus 25 is equal to 0. Out of the first half, I can divide both of those by 3x. 9x squared divided by 3x is 3x. 15x divided by 3x is 5. Out of the back two, I can take out a negative 5. Negative 15x divided by negative 5 is 3x. Negative 25 divided by negative 5 is 5. Notice that what I have in the parentheses always has to be the same. If it's not, back up and redo that step. So I can regroup. I have 3x minus 5 and 3x plus 5 equal to 0. Now I need to finish solving. So 3x minus 5 equals 0. Excuse me, and 3x plus 5 equals 0. So here I add 5 to both sides. 3x is equal to 5. Divide by 3, and x is 5/3. Here I will subtract 5 from both sides. 3x equal to negative 5 and divide by 3. So x is equal to negative 5/3. So here I had two solutions. Here I have two solutions that are similar. Let's try a third example. Alright, example 3. 2x squared plus 4x is equal to 6. Now the first thing I want you to notice is that in everything we've done so far, it's been equal to 0. Before I can start factoring here, I need this to be equal to 0, which means I'm going to move the 6 over. That would give me 2x squared plus 4x minus 6 is equal to 0. Step 1, check to see if there is a common factor. Well, 2, 4, and 6 can all be divided by 2. So if I divide each of them by 2, this becomes x squared plus 2x minus 3. Now I need to focus on factoring what's inside the parentheses. If I multiply my a and my c terms, I get negative 3. I need to list the factors of negative 3, so 1 and negative 3, and then I can do 3 and negative 1, it doesn't really matter. I need the factors to add up to 2. Well, if you add these, notice that it makes negative 2. I need positive 2, so I'm simply going to switch the signs, and all of a sudden it works. Keep the 2 in front. Rewrite this so that the middle, I'm going to use the 3x first minus 1x. It doesn't really matter what order you do it in. Notice if I put these back together, I still get the 2x in the middle. Out of the first two terms, I can divide out an x. X squared divided by x is x. 3x divided by x is 3. Out of these two terms, I can take out a negative 1. Negative 1x divided by negative 1 is x. Negative 3 divided by negative 1 is 3. My parentheses are the same. I do still have this 2 hanging out in the front. So now I can regroup x minus 1 in the first parentheses, x plus 3 in the second parentheses, keep the 2 in the front, and now I set each factor equal to 0. Well, 2 cannot possibly equal 0. That's a false statement. It's an extraneous solution. It means your algebra was correct, but it doesn't work when you go back and plug it in. I have x minus 1 equals 0, so I add 1 to both sides, and x equals 1. Here I can subtract 3 from both sides, and x is negative 3. Now what I haven't been doing so far in this video that you need to be in the habit of doing is taking your answers, going back to the original problem, and plugging them in to make sure that they actually work. Alright, let's try, for example 4. 4x squared minus 4x plus 1 is equal to 0. Looking for a common factor, 4, 4, and 1 can't be divided by anything other than 1. So I'm going to multiply my a and c terms. 4 times 1 gives me 4. Factors of 4 are 1 and 4, 2 and 2. But notice I needed to add up to a negative 4. So I could make both of those negative. They still multiply to be positive 4. Those still multiply to be positive 4, but these two add to be negative 4. So those are the terms I need to use for the middle. So I've got 4x squared minus 2x minus 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. Common factor here is 2x. When I divide, I get 2x minus 1. Common factor here is 1. Oh, actually, let's make it negative 1. That gives me 2x minus 1. My parentheses match. And the reason I changed this sign right here was because I realized if I left it a positive, the signs for this parentheses would not match the signs for this parentheses. Regroup what I have on the outside and the parentheses, and we have this. You could also write this as 2x minus 1 squared is equal to 0. But since these are the same, I really only have to solve this one time. Add 1 to both sides, so 2x is equal to 1. Divide by 2, and x is equal to 1/2. And you say, but we're supposed to have two solutions. Well, technically we do have two solutions. This one appears twice because both of those are exactly the same. When you get two solutions that are the same thing, it's called a double root. It means that this point is the vertex of your graph. So it only touches the x-axis the one time, which happens to be the vertex. Hopefully that has given you a little more practice with factoring. Let's see if we can squeeze in one more before I run out of time here. I want to try one where you don't have a c value. 4x squared minus 24x equals 0. Look for a common factor. I can take a 4x out of both terms. 4x squared divided by 4x is x. Minus 24x divided by 4x is minus 6. And notice there's nothing else to do on this one because you managed to already break it down into two factors that are linear. So we can make this 4x equals 0 and x minus 6 equals 0. If I divide by 4 here, I get 0. And if I add 6 here, I get x equals 6. So two solutions, even though my c term here was 0. All right. Keep practicing because that's the only way that factoring gets easier.